Good morning, best friends. This is Kimya, and I'm here to talk to you today about narcissistic parents. I know that there might be something that I'll say to you that could be a trigger warning. And what that is there's something I could say that could trigger something in you that is a feeling from the past. And if you feel some kind of upset because of it, you can inbox me or you can see your therapist about it, okay? So number one, for those of you that don't know my story, you can go to KimyaMotley.com and find out. If you want to know just a little snippet right now, as I said, my name is Kimya Motley. And a few years ago, my ex-husband shot me multiple times, and he shot my daughter as well in her daycare center parking lot. Well, we both live by God's grace. Go Jesus, go Jesus. And ever since we survived, it's been my mission to try to teach people about violence in families, and so other people wouldn't have to go through what we went through. So I hope this video blesses you. And even if this is not for you, please share it with somebody on your timeline, because I'm sure somebody is affected by narcissistic parents, okay? So number one, what is a narcissist? A narcissist, according to popular culture, is someone who is in love with him or herself, right? However, that's not exactly true. A narcissist is in love with the idealized version of themselves. That means they've created a picture in their minds of who they should be, and then they've gone through great lengths to try to project this persona on other people. So when they have children, they want children to follow along this perfected path to show an image of perfection of how they look, perfection in how they act, perfection in what they do. And this results in craziness in the family. All right, now, all parents like to show off their children, right? I know I have 2 children. When they do something great, I want the world to know because I'm so proud of them. And there's nothing wrong with that. All parents should have strong or firm expectations of their child. They should set boundaries about rules and rewards and consequences. But narcissistic parents go so much further. They go so much further than that. And they usually leave their children feeling like nervous wrecks. So what does a narcissistic parent, look, that's a hard word to say it 10 times fast. A narcissistic parent in a relationship looks like this. It looks a whole lot like domestic violence, honestly, except the subject has changed. The victim is the child. The narcissistic parent has now a built-in relationship. They've actually had the child just to serve their purposes. They have a built-in relationship with someone that will love them, worship them, and someone that they can inherently have power and control over. Sounds crazy, right? However, there are millions of people that are affected by this, families that are affected by this. One of the things that really marks a narcissistic parent is they don't want their child to have any independence, none whatsoever. And when they try to be independent, harsh punishments come down, especially in the adult children. You see it more in the adult children. When the adult children make decisions that the narcissistic parent does not like, the parent will distance themselves from the child. They will go weeks, months, years without talking to the child simply because they've done something that they don't agree with. So, what are traits of narcissistic parents? I have some notes over here because I had so much to say and I was like, okay, I got to cut this down. So let me look at my notes. Here are the traits of narcissistic parents. Now, I want to warn you. All parents might exhibit 1 or 2 of these things. Okay, so as soon as I start telling them to you, don't go, oh my God, my parent was a narcissist. No. But if you start saying, oh wow, yup, that was my dad, that was my mom, over and over again, you probably grew up with a narcissistic parent. So, number one, a narcissistic parent is extremely jealous of his or her child. When that child, as I said before, starts exhibiting some independence, then they don't like it. They don't like that they're not connected to them and drawing on them for everything. When the child gets a boyfriend or a girlfriend or wife or husband, they are extremely jealous of that. You might even hear, I hear it more so in mothers that will say, oh, she took my child from me. Oh, she's turning my son against me. Those kinds of things. All right. The next thing is they have a superiority complex. They have, like I told you in the beginning of this video, they have a falsely inflated self-image. Who they think they are and who they project themselves to be to others are not really who they are, but they just have this incredible, grandiose personality. And they look at their child as not a person, but a trophy, as well as if it's a male, his wife or girlfriend is a trophy. If it's a female, her husband is a trophy. They are not looked at as individuals. It's look at how beautiful my family is. Look at what my husband does for a living. Look at what my wife does for a living. Look at how sexy or hot my wife is, right? So these are trophies that they're acquiring, just like cars or houses, things of that nature. Narcissistic parents are extremely manipulative, very manipulative. For example, you might hear in order to get their way, they might compare you to your brother or sister, and they'll go, why can't you be more like Johnny? Or why can't you do this like Susie? They're constantly comparing you to your brother or sister. They also blame you for things that go wrong in their lives. Like, I sacrificed my whole life for you, and now my life is nothing. So I need you to do X, Y, and Z to make my life better. Blaming. They may also use emotional coercion. And what that means is they'll say things to you like, you're not good enough until you do this. You don't want to go to the school of my choice? That's why you've always been no good. Those types of things. And then they'll shame you a lot. Anything you do, you're bringing dishonor to the family. You're shaming the family, okay? So those types of manipulation are used to really further their image. Now, do kids do things that are disappointing? Yeah, they do. Do they do things that they should be ashamed of? Yes, they do. But if the parents' whole premise of telling you these things and doing these things are to make themselves look better, you could be dealing with a narcissistic parent. All right. The key is that their love is conditional upon you doing what they want you to do. Okay. The next thing is when they diminish you as a person, diminishing the child. Remember, I told you sounds a whole lot like domestic violence. It really does. So the parent is constantly nitpicking at you for every little thing you do. I don't like your hair. I don't like your clothes. I don't like the way you ironed that. I don't like the way you hung the towels on the rack. I don't like the way you put the dishes in the sink. I don't like the way you put the groceries up on the scanner. Whatever it is, it's every little thing you're doing wrong. And a child is walking around like a nervous wreck because they're walking on eggshells because everything they say and do is wrong in the eyes of this parent. The next thing and the last thing I'm going to share, because I do not want to be late for church. Y'all have to pray to Jesus for me because I'm late most Sundays. But the last thing is neglect. Okay. Narcissistic parents may neglect their children, and they neglect them for various reasons. They could for love interest. They've gotten in a new relationship. They have no time for raising kids. They've started a new job, and that job passion is more important than raising kids. They've started a new hobby, and the hobby is so much fun. That's more important than taking care of your needs. So it's important that you're able to recognize these things. And you see this neglect factor. Well, I've seen it. Let me say that. In my course of helping women, I've seen it more from absent fathers. Now, I've had a lot of people tell me that, hey, their mom did the same thing. But in my line of work, I see it a whole lot more from absent fathers. Fathers make children, they leave the children, they have nothing else to do with the children because this other life that they've created is more important to them than the children that they've left behind. So taking a look at all those factors, you might be beginning to wonder, oh my goodness, did I grow up with a narcissistic parent? Or you might say, oh my God, that's me. Like she's really talking about me right now. So, and you might be wondering, well, what can you do about it? Because it does no good to identify the problem, but you don't know what you're going to do about it. I've just opened up this wound and now it's gaping and you need healing, right? All right, so the number one thing I need you to do right now is just come to acceptance. You need to accept that your parent is never going to be able to love you the way you want them to. They're just not capable of giving you the love that you deserve and you've wanted and craved and begged for your whole life. No matter how many hoops you jump through, no matter how many accomplishments you make, no matter how great you are in the eyes of other people, they're never going to do it. They're never going to be able to give you the love you desire. The moment you accept that, you will experience so much freedom, so much freedom. Number two, once you've come to that acceptance, I would strongly suggest that you go find a counselor. That's something that's like a bad thing in the Black community. I don't understand why we feel like this is a horrible thing, but it's not. You've got to get counseling to deal with all those years of feeling like you're not good enough. All those years of feeling like my mom doesn't love me or my dad doesn't love me or he or she loves my brothers more. You've got to get counseling. I'm just strongly suggesting that. And then because counseling was one of the things that helped me the most when I was going through domestic violence. And remember I told you, being raised by narcissistic parents looks a whole lot like being in a domestic violence situation. And as a matter of fact, if you don't get help for it, you could find yourself repeating this cycle in your love relationships. And before you know it, you're in a full-blown abusive relationship with somebody and you'll say, you know, I said I was never going to be with anyone that was just like my dad, but he's just like my dad. Or I thought I was never going to be with anyone like my mom. I distanced myself from that, and she's just like my mom. And you have to identify why. Going to counseling will help you do that. And then you may want to join a support group. In some cities, they have support groups for children that have been raised by narcissistic parents. And if they don't, you can go to a domestic violence support group because I promise you, in our group, we address all of these things. It doesn't matter really if it's partner abuse or it's this, because you need to be able to heal from it, hear that other people are going through it, and know that you're not alone. Okay? And finally, two final things. All right. So 2 final things. You may want to, hey, Derek, you did. You're going to have to watch a replay. You may also want to educate yourself on everything about narcissistic abuse, everything about narcissistic parents. Psychology Today has like tons of articles on this subject. And your knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you get freedom from it. And then if you feel like there's nobody in your life that understands, that listens to you, get a journal, sit down with it early in the morning or late at night, and then you just write out your concerns in that journal, everything you're feeling, and you write it as prayers to your Heavenly Father. I have found, and many of the people that I've suggested this to have found, that journaling is extremely healing, extremely, especially when we're praying to our Heavenly Father, right? Okay, listen, I gotta go because I told y'all I'm late to church every Sunday, and this Sunday it's going to be a new Sunday. I'm starting my new year today. Today, I'm not going to be late for church. So listen, before I go, if you want to subscribe to my newsletter, I need you to go to KimyaMotley.com. Hit that subscribe button if you want to know more about relationships, whether they're parental, domestic violence, whatever it may be. You want to know about relationships, subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm also on Reddit under Violence Against Women Dragon Slayer. I just like that name, so I came up with it. And listen, if you want to purchase my book, I wrote a book called Born of Violence, and you can pick that up on Amazon.com, or you can get it on KimyaMotley.com. But until next time, I want you all to have a happy Sunday, and I'll talk to you later. Have a great day.